I recently came across this amazing Tesla camper build by the Reddit user Tac-wodahs, and you guys need to see this. So they've been working on this build for a while, sharing some updates on the Tesla camping subreddit, and they're currently wrapping up their Tesla camping road trip across 10 plus national parks in the US. Now, there's actually 3 of them on this trip, including their husky, and they're doing all of this without a tent. So all 3 are actually sleeping inside the Model Y with all of the kit that they're taking on the trip. Now, the good thing about the Model Y is it already has by default tons of built-in storage. You've obviously got the massive boot space, or trunk space as you guys would call it in the US. You've got the sub-trunk area as well below the trunk. And you've also got those little cubby bins at the side too. And obviously we can't forget the frunk as well. And combined with camp mode, in my opinion, that makes the Tesla Model Y the ultimate camping road trip vehicle. But there is a problem, because as soon as you flip down those rear seats to go to sleep, you end up losing a ton of space, and this is where things become a lot less practical, and it's made even more difficult if you are taking your husky on the trip. However, these guys have found a way to make it all possible, so let's break it down. So this is Tac-wodahs' post on the Tesla Camping subreddit, DIY Tesla Camper build for 10 plus national parks, sharing the setup. So he's got a whole load of images here. Let's go through the images first, and then we can look at what he said in the post. So first of all, amazed by just how organized and neat and tidy this whole setup is. If you've seen our footage from our 3,500 mile road trip across Europe, we literally just shoved everything in the back. Nothing was properly tied down, and this just makes a lot of sense. It keeps things neat and organized, but it's also the safe way to travel. They actually mentioned in the post that they almost ran over a black bear on this trip, and obviously if you're going to hit the brakes hard and you've got lots of loose items in the back here, you run the risk of them flying into the actual cabin here. They've got their dog with them as well. He's obviously riding in the back. Little sort of dog net there for him there. So yeah, you don't want any loose items flying about that could cause any injuries. So this cargo net that they have, I believe they're using the child seat latches for these straps to go on as well, just to keep everything locked down and secure. Absolutely amazing. Really like how organized this setup is. And then, like I was saying previously, you've obviously got the little side cubbies here for storage too, and then the area in the sub trunk there. So let's roll to the next picture. So this is all of the kit is out, so you can actually see the build in a bit more detail here. They've made like little drawers here for storage, and they also actually still have access to the sub trunk, which we'll see next. And as I was mentioning, you can obviously see those straps there that they're using for the cargo net. But yeah, really cool little hack there. I haven't actually seen anybody else doing something like this. And then we look at picture number 3. This is the platform flipped open, and you can see they have full access to the sub trunk there. So interestingly enough, they actually aren't using a fridge on this trip, but you could very well have a fridge here if you want. You've still got access to the 12-volt storage area there. Maybe you could cut a little hole for access with the cable there. Maybe it's able to slide under, and you could cut a wee latch. But yeah, still got full access there. And we'll move on to the next one. So you can see this is the full sort of like bed platform. And what's really interesting about this is they now have a flat platform to sleep on without actually removing the rear bench seats back here. And they actually mentioned in the post that that would have been a deal breaker for them if they had to remove these the sort of rear bench seats there, because obviously their dog is in the back, so they need that. But yeah, they can essentially just put like any mattress down here, and they're going to have like a flat level surface. So really, really cool setup there. And let's move on to the next one. So you can see this is now the kind of top storage area, where they've got a lot of dry goods there, tins of like vegetables and different things like that in there. So like loads of space, you know, this is like really clever, utilizing all the space available here and still being able to sleep on top of it. And then you can see here, this is where that ditch is caused by the Tesla Model Y. These rear seats, when they fold down, they don't fold down completely flat, they're at a slight angle, and when it reaches this flat section of the boot here, that's where you get this ditch, and that's where people sometimes find it uncomfortable if you're just throwing a mattress on top. So this little section here is what it looks like to me, is actually flattening out that whole area. You can see there it's just kind of bridging that gap and making it almost completely level by the looks of it. They said that it's completely level and they've had a great sleep on it, so I do not doubt that for a second. And then you can see they've got a little area here, so I'm assuming this is part of the section here. So it looks like they've got this split into two different sort of storage areas. So they've got their teas and coffees and stuff like that in there. It looks like a hand coffee grinder there. So always nice to be able to have like a hot beverage when you're on the road. So that's really cool. They've just like nice and neatly organized in there. And then this is really cool. So this is their sort of cooking setup for the frunk. So they've got this little table that actually slides out, and I think Tac-wodahs mentioned in the post that this is the smaller table, and then they have a larger table that can attach to this, so it's actually longer and it's got legs that come out for stability. But they didn't actually end up using the longer table much. They really just used this smaller table setup. And you can see here they can cook like, you know, hot beverages, tea, coffee. You could, you know, heat up meals and things like that there. So very, very cool setup that they've done here in the front. It's a really smart way to use the space. And then this image just gives you a better idea of that when it's folded in. And they still have tons of space around about it for storage. So these look like sort of ready to go camping meals that they have here. Again, like I said, they're doing this trip, or they've done this trip without a fridge. So it makes sense to have these ready to go meals that they can just heat up if they need to. I think there's even storage there. I think that's maybe like hiking poles or something like that they have in the back. And then this is another storage area in here. So let's have a look at that in more detail. So you can see they've got their gas canisters there, all stored neatly in here, all protected from each other. And they've also got another, I think this must be like a coffee grinder thing. I'm not a coffee drinking person, but it looks like another coffee press thing or something like that. If you're into your coffee, let us know in the comments what that is. But yeah, just great use of the space there. Really, really clever. Everything just looks so neat and organized. And this was all done, Tac-wodahs said, with just leftover plywood that he had. He's not a professional carpenter. This is his first big kind of DIY project, but they've really knocked it out the park. And then returning to the trunk area, this is really cool. So he said his wife chose these straps and the little handles there, really, really cool. And this is like a kind of tool storage area, and you can see it's all secured with these latches here, and then the cargo net actually ties on to these handles, I believe, and keeps everything nice and locked in place. So that just pops open, and you can see they've got all of the tools that they need to make any repairs to the build on the road or any adjustments that they need to make. They can do that all here, and they actually use these tools on a daily basis for their dog bed, which they made. And you can see here there's the husky living his best life there in the front seat, and his wife as well. They've made a nice little sort of light setup there, which is actually really helpful because you've got the inbuilt lights, you know, in the Tesla, but they're not the best, so having other lighting options is always helpful. And this is their dog sleeping in the front in the passenger seat. And this is really interesting, especially for us, because we've been thinking about this. How do we go ahead, go on a road trip with our dog and be able to basically do it without setting up a tent? We'd obviously like to set up a tent at certain campsites. If we're going to be staying there for like 2 nights or 3 nights, it makes sense to set up a tent, have that sort of home base. You've got more storage options. You know, our dog would have more room to actually sleep. But if you're trying to get somewhere and you're trying to get there as quickly as possible and you're traveling like a long distance, it doesn't really make sense to set up a tent if you can avoid it. I mean, that tent setup is going to take you about 60 minutes, if not more, and then the same to tear it down. And that's 60 minutes that you could be spending on the road getting to your next destination instead. So yeah, this is really interesting in our eyes, being able to actually have a sort of sleeping platform for our dog. And you can see they've got their husky there. Huskies are fairly large dogs, and he seems pretty comfortable sleeping in the front there. He's getting the full heat and warmth of the camp mode as well. And this is the dog bed platform. So really, really simple design. I was asking Tac-wodahs about this. So he said, you know, obviously this is in the passenger side. So they've just got 2 legs in the passenger side with these bolts attaching here to connect it all. And then I believe there's another, I think there's another section that maybe goes on to the driver's side as well. And there's just 1 leg that goes there. But the dog tends to sleep mostly here in the passenger area because he's obviously got more space. That steering wheel there could be a bit of an issue. And yeah, a lot of their kit actually fits in here as well. So this is their water jug, their Dometic 11 litre water jug, which we'll talk about in more detail soon. This is really cool. So that was actually, saw that if we skip back to the first images. Let's just touch on that just now. So this is their Dometic 11 litre water jug, and this thing is really interesting. I hadn't heard about this before, but I'd really be interested to get one of these for our own setup. You can actually get a like faucet that attaches to it, and it's all like magnetic. How do I come out of this? There we go. So yeah, this Dometic 11 litre jug looks really interesting. I'll just show you it just now. So this is on the Dometic website. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. It's the first time I've really heard of the brand. They're a really reputable brand, seemingly in the camping space. But Dometic Go Hydration Water Jug, 11 litre capacity. And look at this, you get the Dometic Go Hydration Water Faucet that can attach to it. So this little tube just attaches to the water jug. And this is all rechargeable and it's magnetic. It's got a magnetic base, so you can put this little magnetic piece anywhere you want. And at the touch of a button, you can have water on demand. So yeah, really cool item here. You can see people using it there. You can put it on a table. You could put it on your little camping table there. And yeah, it just seems like a super cool device. It would be really handy to have something like this rather than taking, you know, lots of plastic water bottles on your trip. Makes sense to just invest in something like this, and you can use it again and again. So I'll put a link in the description for that if you're interested in checking that Dometic water faucet out and the hydration jug as well. So that all goes in the front seat underneath where the underneath the dog bed, basically. That's where they put it. And then you can see here, this is a wider shot of their little cooking setup. And they also have this Wolf-wise pop-up tent. So it's kind of like a privacy tent that you can use for changing your clothes. You know, I think they even said they've used it for like going to the toilet and things like that. And this thing, I looked into it, it actually seems really compact when it's stored up. So again, just a super simple, minimal setup where they're just maximizing all of the available storage in their Model Y. I just think this is so inspiring. You know, there's going to be a lot of you guys who are watching this and thinking, that is such a great idea. Like, you know, why did I not think about this? You know, it's a great way to maximize the storage in your Model Y. And you can see here, this is some of the places they've been to. I believe this is Mount Baker in the North Cascades National Park that they visited. And there's their dog having fun with the ball. And there's Tac-wodahs and his wife and their husky as well, having the time of their lives. So thanks very much for sharing your build, Tac-wodahs. It's really cool to see what you guys have done. So this is something that, you know, you could DIY yourself. There are options where you can buy something that is like ready made. So as far as I'm aware, there's two big brands in the sort of Tesla camper build space. So first of all, if you're in the US, you've got Frugal, who are based in California, I believe, but I think they do ship all over worldwide. Obviously, when you're looking at buying something of this size, you're going to be hit with, you know, heavy shipping costs, heavy customs costs. But if you're not inclined to do a build like this yourself, then there certainly is an option to purchase something off the shelf. And the Frugal they do for the Model Y, and I believe also for the Rivian too. And they've got various different setups. So they've got the camper kit light setup, which I believe is similar to what Tac-wodahs has done. So this seems to just do the sort of frunk, the trunk area here. You've got tons of storage there, so it looks like a similar design. And yeah, they seem like they've got little bits to add on there. So I'll leave the link in the description for Frugal as well if you guys want to check out what they've done. Like I said, this is an option where you can just purchase something straight off the shelf and not have to do it yourself. You've also got, if you're in New Zealand or Australia, you've got Terraglide. So they do sort of similar designs. They have like the sleeping platform, they've got kitchen modules, they've got a solo setup, and they actually also sell a dog beds. So just a dog bed section, so you can see your cab front seats bed, where they even have a child sleeping on there too, but you could obviously use that for your dog as well. So this is something that we were looking at. It looks really well done. They actually have the legs here go into the drinks holder there in the sort of center console area of the Model Y, and then these other legs obviously go down the passenger side, and then it seems like there's no legs actually here on the driver's side. It must connect to the actual the sort of door card unit here, I think. But yeah, super cool design. Again, you could just purchase something like that off the shelf, or you could go for, you know, one of their full-on car camping kits where you've got the whole bed platform and everything. But for DIY, I think what Tac-wodahs done is amazing, and it obviously would have been a fraction of the cost. So really, really cool setup that they've got there. And if we just check out the post that they made, so halfway through a national park road trip, and my Tesla decided it wanted a new set of shoes, aka tires. 40,000 miles in a year will do that, so that's pretty good longevity. We are at, I think, about 34,000 miles, and we're gonna have to change our tires soon as well. So they've done really well to get to 40,000 miles without, you know, having to change a set of tires. So yeah, this was perfect downtime to share the camper setup that he built for his Model Y. And he's saying there, this is my very first real DIY project. Don't have much woodworking experience, just ideas, YouTube inspiration, and a lot of trial and error. If you've ever thought about building your own camping setup but felt intimidated, I want to show you it's possible to start simple and make it work. So the setup, low profile platform that creates 2 layers in the trunk, mattress on the bottom, drawer size storage above. The upper layer, which isn't pictured, holds mostly sleeping gear, and the plywood divider that separates the two layers slides out to extend the bed, which is pictured. So I think that plywood layer that he's talking about is here. I couldn't quite work out from his wording how that slides into these sections here. It would be really cool to see maybe a video walkthrough of this by Tac-wodahs, or some more photos just showing how that little section there slides out. But he seems to have it all dialed down. Front seat dog bed made from detachable pieces that store neatly under the platform, built with our pup's comfort in mind, so he always has a dedicated spot. Storage bin powerhouse. A perfectly sized bin fits into the rear seat footwell. It locks the layout together, adds huge storage capacity, and straps down alongside the water jug for safety. Honestly, this one piece turned into the MVP of the whole build. So that is this storage bin here. So they're obviously using that to pack a lot of the other sort of miscellaneous items and things that aren't pictured here in that large storage bin. And you can see it looks like a decent size, but it fits in the rear footwell area, and that's going to give them even more support for their platform as well. Water system with a jug plus button press faucet for easy hand washing, bottle refills, and on-demand water. So that's obviously the Dometic 11 litre water jug that we've covered. Rear seat extender, not pictured well, that supports the mattress where our heads rest, so there's no sinking gap between the seats. So that is the, I don't know if you can really see it in the photos. There's a rear seat extender here. So if you actually have, if you are traveling with a dog, you can purchase one of the sort of dog extenders that just basically go over the headrest area and they extend out. So when these seats are up, it essentially covers the gap of the footwell area there so that your dog doesn't fall down and they've got more space to move about. But when the seats are down, you can actually, it doubles up as a sort of mattress support. So when your mattress is on there, if you didn't have this sort of rear seat extender, then your mattress could fall down into the gaps here when you're sleeping, when your head's up here. But with this extender, it creates a sort of stable platform there. So that's what Tac-wodahs is referring to there. And safety, so this is really important. The jug and the bins are strapped to the child seat latches, since Tesla doesn't offer tie downs. So that's an important point. It would be really cool if Tesla incorporated tie downs into their new models. Obviously, with it being Tesla, we know that they like to delete parts as much as possible until they get backlash and then have to include them again. So I don't have much hope that they are gonna include tie downs ever, but that would be really nice to see. A built-in cargo net keeps softer items from rolling around. The trunk storage keeps closed with latches that are held closed by the safety net's carabiners. And then you've finally got the tool storage. So handles and straps picked by my lovely wife, holds everything needed to repair or adjust the build on the road. So far, this setup has worked well for campground stays and dispersed camping. Crater Lake has been a highlight, beautiful and underrated, and almost running over a black bear reminded us why safety and secure storage matter. If I can build this thing, anyone can. So but really that says it all. You know, if you want to build something like this for your Model Y, you could do it if you put your mind to it. He's literally just used, you know, a whole bunch of plywood. You've got some latches, straps, handles, things like that. But you could go ahead and build something like this yourself. And it is going to solve a lot of the problems that you have when you go Tesla camping. You know, it's going to give you that flat bed area, and it's also going to actually give you even more storage, because let's face it, when you put those seats down, where's everything going to go? When we were on our road trip and we were doing it like any sleeps without a tent, we literally had to shove most of our kit into the front seats, and it was just a bit of a mess. So this is just super nice just to see everything all neat and organized. So if you want to see the full post, go to the Tesla Camping subreddit. You can find Tac-wodahs post there, DIY Tesla camper build for 10 plus national parks, sharing the setup. Go check it out, get involved with the conversation. He actually even confirmed that there was no modifications made to the Tesla itself, so there was no warranties voided. He didn't put any bolts or screws into the Tesla. The only thing that I think he used was potentially in the frunk area. I think he maybe used existing screw holes that were there, so he removed the original bolts and put in his own bolts for this, I believe. So he either did that in the front or in the back, but yeah, there was no like modifications done that would have voided the warranty. So yeah, go check out the post. I've got links for Frugal and Terraglide in the description as well, and also that Dometic Go hydration water flask. But yeah, let us know in the comments, is this something that you'd be interested in? Is this something that you would build yourself? And do you know anybody in the EU who actually makes these sort of kits? That would be really interesting to find out if there's any brands out there who are making these for us folks in Europe. But yeah, hope this was inspiring for you guys. It might be an awesome solution for your next Tesla camping road trip, or even your first Tesla camping road trip if you've never done one before. But yeah, see you guys on the next one.